Black revolutionaries, distillery owners, Italian fashion retailers, and Motown Grammy winners all share their best stories never before told in any other media outlets on Detroit is Different. Visit DetroitisDifferent.com or download the Detroit is Different app on Apple's App Store or Google's Play Store.
Welcome back to the Detroit is Different podcast studios. And today, I'm welcome with another creative. You know, we love creatives here. Creatives actually are the lifeblood of, I believe, all of life. Hence the creator, creativity, creation, all of it. You get where I'm coming from. So as we continue with this, it's extending into the friends and family. Detroit is different, like connected to it. Amber Ewing was like, you gotta interview these collection. They're doing like some cool stuff with photography and visions beyond just natural set of photography. So it's like, all right, let's find out what's going on with the Lux experience. Shay Bailey, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Everything is everything. So during this, like I just mentioned, everything about creativity and what it, connects to and what it connects with.
Right.
You're the first interview of the group. And with Bailey, you probably used to be in first with the
Absolutely.
last name. So you're in that mix. I usually start with Detroit's story, which we'll get there. But more so, when did you realize that photography was more than, something that was just cool or a hobby or, beyond just taking a bunch of selfies?
So the interesting thing is I work as a makeup artist with a photographer who actually founded the Lux Experience. So working in the beauty industry is interesting because you can enter through various, ways, if you will. So for me, my entry to beauty was through photographers. So I always have a love for what they do in regards to their craft. I'm always working to elevate my craft so that I can complement what they do. But I just have a special place in my heart for photographers because that was my entry to beauty.
All right, so beauty itself and what that is, cosmetology, makeup, so many different looks at that, and then even makeup, designing and creating what an experience could be.
Exactly.
What is something that like you were drawn to, even connected with that, when we think of like magazine shoots and things like that? What were some of the images that just stood out when you were younger that it's like, I'm attracted to this, like this is something where I have an interest?
Great question. So for me, my interest in the art of beauty actually started with art itself. So as a kid, I had an art teacher that took a special liking to me. She would let me stay after, work with her in class. We would paint, we would draw, and she just really helped to cultivate my understanding of color theory, my understanding of symmetry. Later, literally, I was my semester before earning my bachelor's degree, I had an opportunity to do makeup for a fashion show. And doing that makeup opportunity actually ignited something in me and said, wait a second, you don't just like to create on paper, you actually like to create on someone's face. Like you can use a face as your canvas. So that was my first opportunity to do makeup on someone outside of myself, and I actually never left that particular industry. I graduated from college and went straight into freelance beauty, corporate beauty, and now I'm back on the freelance end, and it's been 15 years and I've loved every second of it.
Okay, so now let's get more into the classic Detroit is Different story.
Okay.
Your Detroit story. Your people. Are you a first generation Detroiter? Was your family already in the area? What's your Detroit story?
So Technically, I am a first-generation Detroiter. My father was born in Detroit. However, his parents were from the South, and he was almost born in the South. He just so happened my grandmother was here when he was born. So
he was conceived in
the South. Absolutely.
But he was birthed here in Detroit.
Absolutely, yes. Okay. So my mother is from Connecticut. So my family came here, like many other Black Detroiters, in search of jobs with the auto industry, in search of what was happening here in the city. There was so much livelihood back during that time, the 50s, the 60s. So that's what brought my particular family here. My parents came as children. Like we just said, my father was born here. So I grew up here. I have 2 siblings, and my husband's from here. All of my children were born here. So it's nothing less than home.
So the South, you mentioned your paternal side, Southern roots. Whereabouts the South? What state?
So they are from Mississippi. So oddly enough, I've never been to Mississippi. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll be there soon. On my mother's side, my grandmother is actually from Georgia. So spent several summers growing up in Georgia, particularly Macon County. It's like the heart of Georgia. So I really had a chance to tap into our roots there as a people, just to see everything that we were able to build there. There was a lot of ownership there, which is very impressive. We didn't necessarily see that up here in the big city, if you will. That's how they would refer to Detroit. So it was nice to go every summer and just see Black excellence happening already for generations down in the South, and hoping to bring that here to Detroit.
Okay, so you mentioned Connecticut as a stop, and it's unique. Surprisingly, there are Black people in Connecticut. You'd be surprised. It's like, certain cities and pockets, like a lot of places, I guess, when you think about it. It's like nothing but Black people in certain parts of Hartford.
Yeah, we're from Hartford.
Okay.
Yeah.
So from the East Coast to shift and pivot to come to Detroit, that's unique as well. But other career opportunities. In this, were your mother, father, grandparents, were any of them artists? Like, were they sparking more of that, visual arts creativity that you were drawn to?
So it's funny, my parents and grandparents, no, I didn't necessarily see art, or I wasn't introduced to art through them. I found out later in my adult years that I do have family out in California that are deeply rooted in art. They've actually had, work featured at various exhibits and various art shows throughout cities in California. So it's somewhere in my blood. But for me, I'm not sure what made me gravitate towards art. I started drawing Looney Tune characters as a kid. I would decorate my room with them. Marvin the Martian.
Okay, that's an interesting one.
Yes.
Interesting voice too.
Yes.
So from the Looney Tune characters came the like, because kids, a lot of kids draw. It's just one of those things that it's like, do something, be productive. Let's do some drawing. When did it shift to saying like, okay, I'm a little bit better than some of my peer group? It's like, that Daffy Duck's eyes are like way off, my G. Like, when did you start standing out?
So I have to go back to this teacher I had. Her name was Miss Kavalaskis, to be specific. I will always remember her. Burns Elementary over on Terry and Linden. She drew a lot of artwork for the school to decorate the school. So we were accustomed to seeing these massive images that she would draw in her downtime. She would stay after school. She would use her prep period to decorate the school. And I remember she had a huge dark-winged duck up on the wall, and it made us feel like we were bigger than life as well. So she gave us like courage through her art. So going back to her and just having her, we would have days where all we did was sketch. It could be eyeballs. All you had to sketch different eyeballs, sketch different, ear shapes. And she would collect our sketchbooks at the end of the day and obviously look through them and grade us. And for her to say, hey, I want you to stay after school. I want you to join my art club. I want you to participate in this exhibit. Really showed me, okay, wait a second, I must have a gift here. Like, she's seeing something in me, she's acknowledging me. So this is something that I should explore more. So that encouraged me to draw at home. And of course, you know how Black parents are, right? We love them. They celebrate, you know, even the minor milestones. So when I started to draw at home, my parents started to celebrate it. They would want me to draw pictures to give to people. They started investing in my interest of art, you know, buying markers and just things that, you know, you wouldn't typically buy. They would invest in more because they saw that it was a gift that I had.
That's neat and that's powerful. So you mentioned Burns. What neighborhood? I'm guessing possibly in that same footprint.
So that was, it's crazy. I don't know like the actual, you know, neighborhood name, but over. So Shelfont and Terry. Okay. So right down the street from Cooley, you can stand on my front porch and look to the right and see Cooley High. Okay. So went to elementary school over there. Also went to middle school from there. And high school, I went to CMA, Communication Media Arts. Okay, so still kind of in that same neighborhood. Absolutely. A little bit West Sider. And was that the neighborhood that you lived most of your life? It was.
Growing up, I should say.
I would say into a certain point. So at about 12, we started to shift and move around a little bit. And in early, you know, adolescence, we did move some too. I don't quite remember a lot of that movement. So when I think about my childhood, I do remember Shelfont and Terry as being a place we lived at the longest. And then at about 12, we started to shift and move around a little bit, but always on the west side. So I would say I've lived up and down Finkel, you know, from Telegraph all the way, you know, to heck, even past probably like Wyoming, and even beyond that, probably Livernois, because my grandmothers lived at Finkel and Livernois, and another lived at Finkel and Wyoming. So Finkel was home.
Okay, interesting. And Finkel's definitely, it's a lot of character down Finkel.
It is.
a lot of that 18 bus route has a lot of character, as you would say. You know, and when I think of like the 90s, you know, it was still, in certain ways, Finkel still had more of a commercial corridor inside of the community. You know, like one of the last interviews, you know, Justin's Records.
Oh, yes. Like Finkel and Hubble, yeah.
Red Devil Pizza Place.
Yes, oh my gosh.
You know, what else is up and down Finkel? Finkel had like all the little, like, between Finkel and Puritan, like, a lot of, like, those neighborhood bars and stuff like that. Like
and funny enough, even when I graduated from college, I was drawn to that area again. So I was already engaged at that time, and my now husband and I, we bought a house over in that area as well. So it's funny how you're just drawn to a space you're from. We were more so on Puritan, but same, that area that I was familiar to, accustomed to. So yeah, Finkel, it definitely had its own vibe. We didn't really leave for much except for going up to Greenfield and Grand River, but that was, you know, that's right there.
And that's all in that same Greenfield, Grand River. You know, I think depending upon where you're at, like, your generations is like, that's Mammoth, that's
oh my
Woolworth.
Gosh, yes. Mammoth, everyone got their ears pierced at Mammoth. You had the airbrush outfits from Mammoth. Yes, we spent a lot of time there.
And in that neighborhood too, even till today, has a lot of families that have been there for generations. You know, so it kind of changes the temperature, I think, of a community when you have like families that have been there for like forever.
Yes.
You know, and even connecting from that story, you said even looking for a home, as a newlywed, you're drawn back to that community because you know it and you feel it. Your husband, is he from Detroit? Is he an East Side or a West Side? Or like, what was his take on that neighborhood?
So he is from Detroit, and interestingly enough, he born and raised his entire life 7 Mile in Greenfield. Okay. So he was 7 Mile down. So even just to move,
two miles away, it's down, like that is a whole nother world to a 7 Mile. Finkel might as well be People might as well be China or something.
Yes. So, I mean, we had a great opportunity on a home in a really nice area. We were excited about it. So he definitely, went into it with me. However, it was interesting because, me moving up and down and having, various homes, the fact that he had been in one space, he even to this day, he feels very, comfortable being there as he should.
Okay, that's cool because it's like a whole different. It's slightly, you know what I'm saying. That's why those Rep for Cooley games.
Oh my God!
It would be so interesting. Rep for Henry Ford games and Cooley Henry Ford.
All day.
Back in the day.
Mumford all day.
So from CMA school, you mentioned like. Are you after school or in attending college? Were you still driven in the makeup journey, like, or were you more so like, something else? Where was your mind at when it comes to the artistry?
So in college, in high school, I was a cheerleader, and we, high schools in Detroit, the cheerleaders are the dancers too, right? We did it all. So in college, I went into dancing. And I actually worked with another group of creatives, and we started a hip-hop dance team on our campus because there was no dance happening that I felt like I could relate to.
What school?
Oakland University.
Okay, Oakland, right?
Yes.
So still sort of in the footprint.
Yeah, still in the footprint. So, the dance team is still here to this day, so that's impressive.
Y'all like a sorority now. It's like,
it's funny because I see them on Instagram. Yeah, I'm like, wow, you guys are still going. That's exciting. So, went into dance, and then again, coming up on my graduation, I plan to go into public relations, specifically for the Pistons. I'm a heavy sports fan. OU is right down the street from the Palace,
it's
right?
Like walking distance.
I did my internship with our sports department. I understood how contracts and branding worked from a sports perspective. So my goal was to go into PR. Right before college, had an opportunity to take on this makeup opportunity, and before within months, the makeup took off.
So right before your college graduation.
It did.
So you were thinking, okay, I'm gonna be with the Pistons and all of that. Let me go on and just try this makeup thing out, and it stuck to me.
And it just stuck. And I had an opportunity to work with so many legendary Detroiters, doing Martha Reeves, Kwame Kilpatrick, Judge Damon Keefe, doing makeup for people that made the city go round, or built this city. It was just really a fascinating experience.
Who did you? Were you working with a firm? Were you just working freelancing? How did that work?
I was freelancing and had an opportunity to work with Monica Morgan Photography. So she's just the heart and soul of photography in the city.
Very much so, even to this day.
Yeah, to this day, right?
I saw her at the Men of Excellence for the Michigan Chronicle event earlier this year. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Monica organizing, planning shots, yes.
She taught me how to move. I always, I had a certain way about myself, but she taught me how to move in rooms where, you were with the bigger fish. So so she taught me how to be in those rooms and take up space, but not take up the space. She taught me, she was probably my first introduction to customer service at this level, that concierge type experience that needs to come when a creative is serving someone else. So working with her really gave me a great foundation as a makeup artist, and from there I felt very confident moving forward with other projects that came about.
So now as we talk about working in that space with photography and what that means, we also just got the other question always, like black woman in this space. As a black woman in the space where it's just not a lot of black people, like how have you maneuvered in that corporate creative space, knowing that things are so subjective?
So interestingly enough, each and every time I won't say each and every time, but most often when I have a chance to work a corporate opportunity, even if the client, looks like me from a black person or deeper skin tone perspective, they're surprised to see me. And they sort of relax and say, okay, I'm with someone that can get it or gets it. But that just speaks to, inequalities we've seen in the beauty industry, that have really just started to be addressed in 2020. Whereas, colors and just availability in product range just didn't cater to deeper skin tones.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Earlier, a couple of episodes ago, Alyssa Space.
Yes, I'm familiar with her.
Cosmetics, and she's a chemist that creates her own beauty line of foundations and makeups, and we were speaking about her line and the success of that, but even the role of what Rihanna has created just by honoring the fact that, like, okay, skin tones go deeper than, the fairer skin black woman possibly.
The beautiful thing that Rihanna did is she said she was very intentional with her messaging. So I spent 13 years working for MAC Cosmetics, and we had all shades. So you had a ton of deeper skin tones that catered to MAC because they could find their skin tone. So working with them, I never felt as if with that particular brand there wasn't representation in colors. However, the messaging from the industry overall just didn't cater to black women. And when Fenty Beauty launched, it was just something very phenomenal to see her like boldly embrace the message of, I'm here for you. Like, you belong here. I have your shade. I'm addressing, all of the gaps in the industry. I'm speaking up for the fact that there is this level of inequality, specifically with deeper skin tones. And I think messaging resonates with consumers. That was the start of it from my eyes, right? When she launched, I started to see a shift in how consumers shop. They want the messaging to be on point. It's not just about, can you dig in the drawer and find my shade? Is the messaging on point? And she did that very well. I absolutely love, shopping with her and other brands like Alyssa's brand. I've had the pleasure of ordering and playing with a few of her shades, just seeing what she, came to the table with as a cosmetic chemist. Like, it's very remarkable to see black women say, you know what? We spend more money in this industry than any other race, and we want to be heard. We want to be represented, and it's not just in the product, it also needs to be in the messaging.
So that definitely leads to, when we speak about messaging, that's what brings you here to Detroit is Different. The Lux experience. It's a collaborative effort. Black women coming together doing business in this space. What is it to you? Why did you join? What was appealing about this?
Oh my gosh. Every time I'm asked this question, I feel like my answer keeps evolving just more and more. So I'll give you sort of what I'm feeling in this moment. The reason I joined Lux Collective is because I believed in what the founder, Brandy, was establishing specifically for, women that I could relate to. I booked a shoot with Luxe for my own brand, and I was blown away with the level of the attention to detail. I felt catered to. I felt like someone was paying attention to me. I felt like a star. And, as women, wives, mothers, just community leaders, active, all the things, all the hats that we wear, you don't always get the time to, take for yourself or step into your own space and have people cater to you. So I had already said yes before my own personal experience, and once I had my personal experience, it was set in stone. Like, I absolutely want to be a part of you creating this for other women.
Okay. Okay, so your role, what's your vision of what you see bringing to the table with the Lux Collective, the Lux experience? What are you going to add that's signature for the Shay Bailey experience?
Oh my gosh. So what I'm excited about is something we're working on right now. So first off, we have Lux Experience. Lux Experience is the experience that the client has, that catered experience they have when they book a photo shoot. So Lux Experience is comprised of makeup, hair if the client requests, wardrobe, so all of that is Lux Experience. What I'm excited about and what Shay Bailey has a chance to put her stamp on is the extension of that, which is called the Lux Collective. So after receiving, more 5-star reviews than we can count, so much community support, just hearing all the feedback that we were getting from clients and those around us, we decided, wait a second, there may be something that we can do for other creatives to show them the blueprint. So right now, as a collective, a number of us are working together to create a customer service blueprint for other creatives so that they can personalize their experience in hopes of getting the same feedback from their clients.
That's deep. Okay, that sounds very, very creative. So usually I have a classic Detroit is Different question to wrap, but with this one I'm going to change it up a little bit. So for you, who would be your dream client to do makeup for?
Wow.
That's a Detroiter. Who would be your dream, dead or alive? It could be whomever.
My dream client to do makeup for.
And a Detroiter, just on the Detroit is Different kick.
And they are a Detroiter. Oh my gosh. Man, so many people are coming to mind. Okay, I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off. And I'm going to say Rosa Parks.
Interesting. Why?
And the reason Rosa Parks comes to mind is at the time of her passing, I was working with her official photographer, which was Monica Morgan. And they were looking for makeup artists to, be a part of her final dressing. And I am not trained in that type of makeup. So, of course, I didn't put myself in the hat for that opportunity. And it always stands out to me because I say, man, you were this close to having a chance to touch Rosa Parks, and even though I didn't go for it because of my lack of training in that area, it's still a story that I tell to this day. So if I could go back and do anyone, it would be to wrap that in a bow and have a chance to do her makeup.
That's deep. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. How do the people get in contact with you connected to this project?
The best way to contact me is via social media. Every handle is at Shay Be Beautiful. Again, at Shay Be Beautiful, SHAYB and beautiful, and you can go from there.
All right. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you.
Detroit is Different is where you get information, artistry, history, music, and even comedy. Detroit is Different, a home for the culture of Detroit. Visit online at DetroitisDifferent.com today.